Well, it wasn't the plan, and it was not. It was definitely not what we were hoping for. What kind of occurred a little bit was having 5 3-and-outs. I mean, two, the second and third drive of the game, and then the first and second drives of the second half. I mean, that really kind of puts us into a little bit more of a look situation. Ended up in third down. I mean, I think we ended up with 16 third downs when it was all said and done, which a lot of those for us are look plays, which kind of slows us down a little bit as we kind of look at it and try to give Allen some different options to choose from and let me kind of see it. So it did occur. We didn't get as many tempo plays in this game. That was not kind of the plan going in, but it was kind of how things unfolded a little bit. So, yeah, I think we ended up with 29 kind of 29 tempo plays we could evaluate. And then there's always some that happen with injuries or penalties. Things kind of, helmet comes off on a guy, kind of knocks us out of our tempo, some that way. But, yeah, we had less than what the plan was, but that just kind of how things fell.
Then a group of strength, though, it seemed, was that wideout spot. 10 different guys caught a ball. We saw 3 of them get 70 yards plus. How deep is this position group compared to even last season?
Well, we're really fortunate to have the guys returning that we do, and then have some new guys come in, and really we haven't even kind of got everybody involved as much as what we hope to. I mean, Loic, we have not gotten on the board yet. I don't think Trey got a catch this past game. That way, Holcomb, we threw one to him. He was kind of in tight coverage, got knocked away, didn't come up with it in that way. So, I mean, we'd like to – we've even got more than what kind of showed up the other day that we feel we can kind of get the ball to. But, no, it's a really talented group. Like to, I mean, get the tempo going, get things going. So it kind of makes us play more guys the faster we play. So that gives us the opportunity to get some more of those guys in to kind of use that to our advantage, that we do have some depth there and really got some fine guys that are really talented that can make plays for us. So that's been really good. I mean, Keyshawn has kind of stepped his game up off of last year, kind of the way he ended the season last year. Really the Texas game, and I mean really those last 2 games. I mean, watching the K-State stuff from last year's game, you can see Keyshawn making plays in that game that way. So he's kind of been on a hot streak, so we want to keep him kind of rolling that way. And then you got Easy and Vasher, making plays, and we've got more guys than that we can get the ball to. So it's a nice situation to be in.
We'll go to Billy Watson.
Hey, Coach, I guess compared to week 1, did you like the overall offensive production, especially against a team like Texas?
Well, I mean, I think we did some good things, but it was definitely, really inconsistent on our part. It was kind of a up and down how things were kind of going. We weren't able to really get any sustained amount of plays over and over again. And when you play a good football team, it's going to be harder. It's going to be that way. But still too many self-inflicted things that kind of caused us to get out of drives or kind of get us off kind of schedule and what we wanted to do that way. So I think our best football is still ahead of us. A lot of improvement from week 1 to 2. Now our challenge is we got to make big improvements from 2 to 3 in that way. And we're capable of that. I think we've shown signs of what we can do or what we're capable of. Now can we do it for a sustained period of time? Can we get 5, 6, 7 drives in a row where we're executing at a high level? I mean, our numbers last week shows you that when we get a first down, 7 times we get a first down on a drive, we score in 5 of them that way. 5 times we don't get a first down and go 3 and out, and we punt. We punted 6 times on a day, 5 times off 3 and out. So I mean, we're very much kind of inconsistent right now in that. And then explosive big plays are our other big deal. And we had 7 drives with big plays in them. We scored on all 7. We had 11 drives without a big play, and we didn't score on any of them. So, I mean, that's kind of who we are. And we're capable of getting 11 or 12 drives with big plays or 11 or 12 drives with first downs, and then all of a sudden all that changes.
Go to Ronald Clark.
The run game got off to a little bit of a slow start in that game. Was that, by intention? Was that almost like a little bit of a rope-a-dope, or was that just, what they were giving you guys in the first half, and then obviously in the second half, ripped off that 75-yarder?
Well, we were a little uneven in our run game. We were kind of going in, expected we'd probably get a few more of our screen game thrown with some of the looks we'd seen. Texas adjusted kind of that way and really played to take the screens away from us, the bubbles, the nows, the things that we do that way. So what he did was he gave us some really good run boxes to run the ball into, and we probably didn't take as much advantage of that as we really feel we could have or should have, that way to kind of get the run game going a little bit more early in that way and gets Roderick going and Xavier White and Chad that way, and it kind of kept us a little bit, and I think that's what kind of also led to us being a little bit more inconsistent and being able to kind of keep drives going or get drives through that first down. But no, it was we want to run the football. We got to be better at running the football, and we're capable of that. I mean, we have a really talented group up front, and I mean, we're going to lean on them, and we know we can get a lot more out of them than what we got last week, and that's part of our challenge and part of what we want to get done.
Go to Don Williams.
David, going back to what you were mentioning a moment ago about lack of explosives on some drives and whatnot, I was just looking back at the box score. It looks like you scored a touchdown on an 11-play drive, but all of your other touchdowns were on drives that were, looks like 7 or 6 plays was the next most that you scored a touchdown on. Is there a limitation to this offense in being able to keep the ball for 12 or 13 plays and stick it in the end zone?
No, I don't think it's a limitation on us. I think it's a limitation a little bit when you play a good football team. You're not going to put a lot of 12-play drives together in a game against a quality opponent. I mean, what you do is you kind of run the risk of you doing something to stop yourself. I mean, a drop ball, a penalty, a missed throw, those things that kind of thing. And the more plays you run in a drive, the more likely or more chance that one of those happens that kind of gets you off schedule, and then you're not able to overcome it. So, us having one 12-play drive on the day, you like to be that truthfully, and against a good defense, which Texas is a talented group. If you have 2 10-plus play drives in a game or 3, you feel really, really good about yourself. Well, so that's why we focus so much on the explosives, is because that's the way to kind of make up for that ability where you're asking your guys to just execute play after play after play against good people. I mean, they're on scholarship, they're good players, they're being coached well, they're going to make plays too. So the more explosives we can produce, the better chance we have of getting scores up, because then you don't have to do that over and over and over again. So it kind of goes both ways. When you play a team that you're better than, like HBU, I think we had multiple longer drives there, which that normally does happen in those kind of games where you're able to kind of execute at a higher rate against that. But when you're playing a good football team, it gets a lot tougher that way. So that's why explosives are so critical for us. And the two things, explosives and then getting a first down. Those are the two things we focus on, and we've got to do a great job this week for K-State.
Go ahead, Don.
I was curious, do you go into each game with a script for overtime, or when you have to go to overtime, are you deciding based on what you've seen over the course of the day what you want to go with?
Well, you kind of have some things beforehand. We don't have a true script written up for overtime in that way, but you kind of have things that you feel going into the game that you think are going to be kind of your strong plays for the day. And then kind of as the game goes, you kind of evaluate that in that. So what we script a lot of stuff. So the first half is a pretty standard script for us, where we're kind of working through multiple different scripts that we put together going in on the week. That doesn't mean you never get off of them, but you kind of lean that way. The second half, normally we start the third quarter with a similar mindset, and then what we did in this game was basically we got into the fourth quarter and talking to our staff, talking to Alan, just getting a feel for what we like, what we feel good about. I get down to where we pick about 8 to 10 first and second down plays and kind of script them up each drive to go that way. And when we don't get them run, they kind of slide to the next drive if we still feel good about them, or we add new things in or take things out as we go. So as we finished the fourth quarter, we had kind of had a thought process of about 6 things that we'd like to run, and it's more in the top end of that red zone area when you're at the 25. What you kind of feel in your first 2 to 3 plays you want to do, and then what you do in the next area. And then we also have kind of a red zone game plan that we've gone over because of what we've seen from them previously on previous game video, previous film study. So that was kind of what we were planning on. Once, if we'd have gotten really inside the 12 to inside the 10 range, was kind of to go back to that, because we hadn't run many plays down there, so we didn't have much from the game to go off of there. It was more off of our film study prior to.
Go to Sean Dillon.
Coach, if you look at the game, which players have shown the greatest improvement since week 1, and where do you want to see further growth in preparation for Kansas State?
Well, I think, everywhere on offense, but you look, Easy had probably had his toughest game against HBU, and then really came out and played really, really well for us on Saturday. So, that was a huge improvement, and really it was more of what we kind of expect from him. The first game was kind of a surprise that when he kind of didn't catch the ball as well as he had every day in practice since we've been going. Our 2 tackles, playing against a much different competition level from HBU to Texas. Thought they competed, or they're going to give up some pressures to the quarterback, yeah, but to come out of a game where you thought 50-plus times, our quarterback really was, he did a good job of not holding the football, but we had 0 sacks on the day. That way they got close to us a couple times and kind of stripped the ball from behind, put some pressure on us, which that's going to happen when you throw it 50 times, but that was really good. Our interior of our O-line has done a really exceptional job with kind of the kind of line stunts and the things that they've been doing up front to kind of give Allen space in front of him so he doesn't feel any kind of in-his-face pressure. And then the tackles are continuing to get better, and they just will. The more we play, the more they play, the better they're going to get that way. Those guys kind of did it. There were some plays where Travis Kuntz blocked, as good a defensive ends as we're going to face, and did a great job against them. Taking guys, putting them on their backs, driving guys 2 and 3 yards down the field to kind of help in the run game and that, and kind of gave us some opportunities on a few that like to get a little bit more out of in the run game, but he did a really good job with that, and really was a physical presence in the run game for us. So that was real positive. And then Keyshawn's kind of continued to go the way he kind of has, and that. So no, there was a lot of improvement. That was the positive, and to be able to go out and score points and put ourselves in a position like we did in that football game. It took an improvement as a whole offense to be in that position as opposed to what we had produced in that first game.
Go to Leah Doherty.
Hey, Coach, what do you think it's going to take for your offense to be able to finish out these close, big games?
Well, I think, the HBU one, we were able to kind of use a situational offense in 4-minute and our coming out stuff, and did a really good job with it. That was probably one of the bigger disappointments, was we had 2-minute kind of opportunities, the one at the end of the first half and the end of the game, where we could have put ourselves in a position to score some more points, and then you never know how the end of the game is differently in that way, and we weren't able to. And it's something we work on in practice at least once a week, and a lot of times more than that, in our 2-minute mode. And then our overtime went in there and kind of went backwards on the first play and wasn't able to kind of get anything going, which was disappointing. It wasn't kind of how we'd been playing kind of a lot of that second half. So that was that. But we're good enough to do it. We know we can do it, and we have good enough good enough players in that way, and we just got to make sure as coaches we're putting them in a position to be successful, and then we got to go take advantage of the opportunities when they come and find a way to get one of these so we can just start to kind of build that confidence. Because I know we're building a lot of confidence in each other, that we know what we're going to get, that we can trust each other, that the guys are putting in the kind of the preparation to get themselves ready. I mean, I'm sitting in here right now, and there's probably 4 or 5 O linemen already watching stuff for the K-State opponent, looking at stuff that way. So I mean, they're doing all those things, but we just got to find a way, and then you got to break through and get one of these against a good opponent, and then start stacking them on top of each other.
I'll go to Eric Kelly and then Don to finish us off.
Talking about Kansas State, can we get the David Yost breakdown of this K-State defense? I know obviously their D-line dominated a usually stout Oklahoma offensive line this past weekend.
Yeah, they're really strong up front. They play 8, even a little bit more than 8 guys in the front, so that, I mean, it keeps them fresh. They're again a 4-down defense, which is kind of what we've seen the first 2 weeks, so it's a continuation of that. Really, I mean, physical that way, get off the ball, kind of play through you as D linemen that way. Do a really good job of kind of covering formations with their kind of in their secondary and with their backers. Probably not going to offer up a lot of our screen game opportunities. I mean, they did that last year when we played them. Did a really good job of covering that up, giving us some areas, and we're going to have to be able to run the football that way. Multiple in their secondary, and they changed coordinators from last year. But it's the guy that took over was on the staff. He'd been with him for a good while, so I think that there's a lot of carryover, a lot of continuity that way with some different wrinkles. And you could kind of see it in the first 2 games they've played, some things that we didn't have on them from last year or in our game or before that. So it's a good challenge that way, but really a lot of different coverage looks. I mean, we've kind of the last couple of weeks we've kind of seen some about 2 to 3 coverages a game. In that way, and then kind of a pressure coverage. With these guys, they have multiple kind of coverages from different versions of cover 3 to different versions of quarters to man to 2-man to some split coverage type stuff. So that'll be a good challenge for Allen to understand them and be able to kind of dissect them and try to take advantage of that with our check system in that way. And then we've got to be able to adjust our routes the way we adjust them by how they're kind of putting themselves in position on some of those things in our tempo. So it's a good challenge for us, but they're a good defense. They play and they keep everything in front of them. They don't give you up a lot of big plays that way. They're going to make you earn everything you get. So it's fun, and can't wait to get started today on it.
Go to Don to finish us up.
David, you mentioned a moment ago that Texas kind of took away a lot of your bubbles and nows, hitches and whatnot, screen game. Given that y'all use that a lot to kind of give the quarterbacks easy throws to get into a rhythm and gain, knock out 4 or 5 yards, 7 yards, what have you. And you said you anticipate Kansas State trying to take that away as well. How disruptive is that for your offense and for Allen?
Well, I don't know if it is much of him getting into a rhythm with them. It's normally kind of, I mean, it's kind of like cheating as a quarterback. I mean, you throw a lot of bubbles, and now all of a sudden your completion percentage is shooting in that 70 to 75% range because you're 10 of 10 or 11 of 11 or 14 of 14 in some of those days when you have a lot of those. So it makes it that way. But the whole reason we throw the screens, we throw the bubbles, we throw the nows the way we do is to try to create better run boxes or better run looks for our run game. So we can run the football when we want to run it in that way. So that's what the challenge just kind of falls a little bit quicker onto us being able to get the right calls and the right looks and get the right angles, and then doing what we do fundamentally and technique-wise to be able to block these guys and become, 6-second blocks and all of a sudden and finish those and drive on them and strain and give our backs that space, because you've seen what SaRodger can do when he does have an opportunity, he gets in space. He can make one guy or even 2 guys miss. We just got to get him into that space so he can go and kind of do what he does. And Chad and X and Taj are kind of all guys that can do those things too. So we're a talented group there. We just got to get them into space and get them those opportunities.
first 2 weeks has had complete a lot of passes, thrown for a lot of touchdowns, put up the numbers, but he's had about 3 or 4 passes that were kind of leave you shaking your head, maybe so to speak. What happened on the interceptions on Saturday? How would you kind of evaluate him overall?
Well, the first one was as I would put it, that's a bad quarterbacking interception. And we talked about it this morning. We talked about it when it happened. We had a little concept going on where it was kind of really kind of a screen and go concept for us. And he did not recognize and did not react to them going to a one high safety look, and then kind of threw the ball into a position where a middle of the field safety could come over and intercept it. And that was disappointing. That's one of those ones where it happens. And you're kind of like, well, that's not good quarterbacking. Those don't happen very often, and haven't happened very often with him. So our plan is that's his only one for the year that you sit there and say is bad quarterbacking. The second one was really, it's what we do as far as we simulate the snap. Their corner showed like he was coming. We felt he was offsides, which there's a fine line there and everything. Our center snaps it, and then what we try to do is take a shot down the field, and it's the old theory of if they're offsides, we got 5 yards, now let's try to get 55, which the first touchdown, the touchdown we threw to EZ was actually the same exact play, just really a few snaps before that for us, where they jumped offsides, and we throw a go route up to him, and he goes up and plays big boy with their corner and catches it and comes down in the end zone. And then really the same thing occurs there, and Allen tried to kind of hit the seam in his expectation, his thought that the defense is offside, so this is kind of a free play. Well, they hadn't gotten offsides. They didn't get called that way, so then what we do is we throw it down the seam, and they make a play, and then it goes the other way. And has that ever happened? Yes, and that's the bad side of what we do, and that's the negative side. But over time, over the process of doing this, there's a lot more that's stacked up on the good side than the bad side, and that's really the first time we've thrown an interception on that concept. And if we can go the next how many ever years before we have another one of those, we'll be okay. And I mean, we went 1 for 2 the other day with a touchdown and an interception when they jumped off sides, which you'd like to be 2 for 2 or 2-0 on that. And then the last one is the fourth down. He's trying to make a play. He tried to really on the scramble to try to throw it to Keyshawn up the sideline. We did have EZ kind of underneath, kind of coming back on the scramble. Been great if we'd have seen him, been able to get him the football, but he was trying to make a play up the sideline, running to his left. The ball did not go where he wanted to. They came down with the interception on the fourth down, which the worst thing you can do on a fourth down in that situation for quarterback is end up with the ball in your hands. So you want to make sure you get the ball off and give your guys a chance to go make a play for you, and wish we'd have given him a little bit more, but that'll happen, and he was trying to make a play for us on a fourth down in overtime.
Well, I mean, I don't remember tons of time in the pocket. I remember I know the 5 straight possessions in the second half. I mean, we forced a punt off of a 3 or a 4 and out, another punt, an interception, forced a field goal, forced another punt, 2 quarterback sacks with a 3-man pass rush. I mean, why would we change what we're doing? It was a 3:07 mark, actually not 4 minutes. It was 3:07 when they got the ball. Average starting field position on Saturday, the 40-yard line. If you look at the charts, 53% chance to score. So my initial thought was, after the kick, was to go sub package and play, and make them just grind out the clock. And so they got good field position. You're playing a number 9 ranked team in the country. You got a quarterback that can tear you up with his legs. You got a running back that's a big-time running back. So we went base defense, tried to go some sub package there. Just they hit us on a play to Schooler, which the first quarter, the exact same play, exact same defensive call, and we make a great play on Tyree Black. And actually, he come out of the game there for a little while after that play. So if you remember, we viced him, okay? We viced the guy and just didn't make the play. We made it in the first quarter. We ended up not making it then. I'm not going to use, that's just who we are. I mean, we play a lot of plays on defense. We played 98 plays. We had certain guys like Jacob Morgenstern. He probably played 20 special teams plays. I mean, you're sitting there. So, I mean, we ain't using that as an excuse. I mean, we got to finish. It's just finish. I mean, and, you know, you got to give credit to Texas. I mean, this isn't their first rodeo. I mean, look at the Iowa State game a year ago. They're down 20-7, exact same scenario, 20-7, except there was probably 7 minutes to go in that game. Drive the length of the field, touchdown. Drive the length of the field, same type deal. They rush, they go all out blitz on third down, fourth down, they rush 3. Ellinger got out of the pocket and he drilled them, beat them 21-20. So, you know, there's a lot of things that go into it. Wouldn't change the dang thing, anything that we did, other than the fact I didn't like when they went empty. Okay, if I had that to do over again, I'd do something different for sure.
Go to Don Williams.
Coach, you've gotten to watch Tyree Wilson for a month, and Saturday was the first time we got to see him, and he looked like a difference-making presence in a pass rusher. It seemed like Texas offensive tackles really had a handful handling him. How big a difference can he make for you?
Well, I think he showed everyone what he's got the capability of doing. He's been here for a month, Don. We haven't seen him for a month. I mean, it's like this has been crazy. I mean, but it's going to be fun once he does get back into shape. You know, and we knew what we were getting once we got him to commit to coming here, and it's going to be exciting to watch his development. But he is definitely a guy that we can impact the quarterback with and do some things, obviously, as we move forward. And you know, and that goes back to the other thing. I mean, guys were sitting there rotating six guys up front in that game. One, you know, which obviously was not in, you know, probably conditioned to play more than I think he ended up playing 20 plays. You know, we're just going to try to play them into shape. That's just all we can do. But, you know, and then a couple of those guys, we had one guy on one, you know, bouncing around on 1 foot. And I mean, so it's just, you know, a deal but I definitely am excited to see the development of Ty. He's going to be able to be a big impact for us.
Go back to Eric Kelly.
Coach, it seems another week, another dual threat guy. You got to go up against that quarterback. Are all dual threat quarterbacks made the same, or is Skylar Thompson different? In what ways is he different than Sam Ellinger?
They're all very unique. I mean, they're all different. They're all very unique in each one of them's skill set. The thing that like with the guy we just faced, Ellinger, I mean, he is so smart. I mean, he knows because they run a very complex offense, but yet there's simplicity within the complexity of what they do on offense. I mean, this guy has sometimes three, the 2-point play. I mean, they go into a bunch, so he looks out there and if he's got numbers on the bunch, he comes off that. If he doesn't do that, he's going to run a quarterback draw, and if he doesn't do that, he's going to throw the ball to the X receiver. So it's, you know, they're all so unique in what they do. They all bring a different skill set. You know, some of them are really, you know, where like Ellinger's an effective runner. Thompson, you know, is a guy that's a very effective runner, but just different style. I mean, there's a lot of quarterback power reads and counter reads and things like that. You saw him run the speed option against Oklahoma for a first down. It was a big play for them. And then, you know, Brewer's he's got a sneaky way of being able to attack you with his feet. So, you know, you can just go on and on and on. It's just what you are, and that's why you have to build your system to account for those guys. And right now with where we are, you know, we do it with second-level players from a standpoint. And what I mean is in our scheme. I mean, you know, we're an odd front, obviously, so we got guys that are very talented on the second level. Thought Rico Jeffers played extremely well the other day, and again, you know, same thing with Schooler and Randall. Once those guys continue to come along and develop, and then Merriweather played a solid game, we'll continue to improve.
Go back to Don Williams.
I might have asked you this last week, I don't remember, but Jacob Morgenstern, I was curious, you know, you look at his bio at Duke, he did not really have didn't put up impressive tackles numbers, and the gist of it from when he transferred here was he's a special teams playmaker. And then on Saturday, he's making plays on special teams and on defense both. Do you have any sense from Coach Jones why he's not able to get a bigger role at Duke?
That's a great question, Don, because they played in a 4-2-5 system, and they had him inside as an inside linebacker. And when I was watching him on video, I'm like going, my gosh, this guy's exactly what we look for. I mean, big, long, rangy, 6'4", 220-pound guy that's extremely active and smart. And so I was just like, God, this guy fits our system much more than what he does Duke's system. So Derek did give me that insight that he played behind some really good players. I think a couple of NFL caliber inside linebackers, and he was an inside player. And then they had, an NFL kind of a nickel position. And so he just really had a hard time getting on the field. And it wasn't a surprise to me what we got. I mean, I watched his special team highlight from Duke, and I know Derek said, Coach, this guy is as good a looking linebacker as you have on campus right now. And so we got all over him, and he's definitely going to be a major contributor for us.
Go back to Eric Kelly.
Kansas State in their history has had some success with smaller running backs, and now they have another one in Deuce Vaughn. What makes him such a playmaker on that side, hard to contain?
Yeah, he runs hard, and he's very explosive. I mean, built low to the ground, obviously, and he's a lot like Sproles, a lot like a lot of those guys that have come before him. But he's just a typical Kansas State football player. Maybe I don't know what his recruitment was like, but those guys have always done a great job of evaluating people that fit their system, and then they plug them into their system, and they're just very sound in every single thing they do. And it just presents a little bit different type challenge than what we face this week. But I know our kids are excited to get back out on the field.
Sorry, Coach, for keeping you for one more. After Houston Baptist, as a defensive coordinator, how proud were you of your secondary guys? They probably heard all the negatives that people had for them, but to come back and have that type of performance at a lot of time against a really quality opponent in Texas.
Well, I was proud of them all the time. I mean, I just obviously you can't focus on what's. I mean, people have no idea what's going on behind the scenes here with Texas Tech football, so we don't listen to what's going on outside here. I mean, I'm sure the kids, hear it, but man, you have to protect your mind. You have to, if not, you start losing confidence. And I mean, let me tell you something. There wasn't anybody surprised except for maybe the guys across the field, maybe the people in the bleachers about what went on Saturday. I'm telling you, we fully expected to win that game, and we're not. That ain't no moral victory for us. And I'm just telling you, we fully expected to go and show up and win that game. Our kids did, and man, they were disappointed. And I told them after the game, I'm just as proud to be your coach as the day I got here, and we're going to continue to improve, and we're going to play with a chip on our shoulder the remainder of the year, and I promise you we're not going to be surprised.